It's Genshin Impact on the Poco F3 and the X3 Pro. Will they deliver or melt under pressure? Let's have a look. Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tag. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here by popular demand to bring my Genshin Impact gameplay on the Poco X3 Pro and the Poco F3. Now, when I released my PUBG Showdown yesterday, a lot of you guys were in the comment section saying, Frankie Tech, we want to see Genshin Impact on these phones, and that is exactly what I'm bringing you today. Now, these phones are going to be running extreme settings here, 60 FPS, and I'm also filming at 60 FPS with this video so you guys can see how smooth these phones actually run Genshin Impact. Will the Snapdragon 860 and 870 deliver smooth Genshin Impact gameplay on these phones? Let's have a look. So here are the graphic settings we'll be testing on these phones, and we're going pretty much highest level on all of these. You see that high, and we're going to make sure that we are at 60, and this switches obviously to custom on both phones, and both phones are showing overclocked here, so this is going to be a pretty difficult test. I also have the CPU monitor in the background that will be measuring the temperature of the phones, and I got my trusty thermometer to measure the ambient temperatures. And so initially checking the FPS on these phones, 54, 61. Let's get started here on the Poco X3. And guys, I just started a whole new save data, so we're starting pretty early off in this game. Let's fight some bad guys, and you can actually see what that looks like here on the Poco X3. And these level 2 bosses shouldn't be that much of a taxing thing for this phone. And you can see they're moving around, 42 FPS. And overall looks pretty good on this phone, but I do notice when I pan around like this, that is when I see the biggest frame drops on this phone. It's around 23 degrees in this room. And overall, it is playing it, but I'm definitely noticing more stutters here, 43 FPS. And now we go to the cutscene on the Poco X3 Pro. Let's jump over now to the Poco F3 and see how we do. And here on the Poco F3, and let me tell you guys, it is very smooth, buttery smooth here on this phone. I wish it was a bit brighter though. There you can see a little bit more contrast. And still a smooth 60 FPS on this phone. Let's go ahead and teleport to Mondstadt so we can see a little bit more of this game. Alright, so it is nighttime in Mondstadt. Let's fly down now and see what it looks like. And you see as I pan around, pretty smooth, guys. Yes, maybe there's the occasional stutter here when I'm kind of moving it around, but if you're just kind of flying in a straight line, it's doing really well here. Around 53 FPS on this phone. And back here on the Poco X3 Pro. And you can definitely tell that these settings are taxing these phones. I mean, 60 FPS for any phone would be a challenge, but it's definitely a challenge here for these devices as well. And you know, I was wondering because maybe it was nighttime, but it's not the case, guys, because after just 10 minutes of playing at these settings, there you see it. The Poco F3 has gone dim display with these settings. And a lot of you guys have asked me, Frankie Tech, is this an issue with this phone? Maybe a software update will improve it. I think, guys, these settings will just do this to a phone. In fact, I've had this happen on iPhone 12 Pros, the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Even after 20 minutes of extreme 60 FPS will dim its display. Now, yes, it's still very much playable, I would say, even with a dim display, but you can just tell it is much darker, despite it being nighttime, than it should be, to lower the temperature of the CPU. But so far, the Poco X3 Pro has kept its display bright. And let me tell you though, this phone is definitely getting hot. So I would say, definitely a challenge if you're playing at 60 FPS on these phones. And now to check the CPU monitor, I think this is going to be a brutal temperature we're going to see from these phones. Are you kidding me? Did I just see 79 degrees? And now it's coming down to 67, 65, 54, 52, and you see the Poco F3's display is super dim. This is a pretty shocking result, and all it took was 10-15 minutes of Genshin Impact at max settings to do it. And a lot of you asked the question, Frankie Tech, can I continue playing? What do I do? Well, I think in this case, you will have to wait, or you'll just have to stop playing the game at 60 FPS to get the display back to a normal brightness. And now just spending a few minutes out of the game, and you can tell things are a bit smoother on the Poco F3. But I want to find some bad guys here to really start taxing the CPU. And there we go. You see a little bit of a stutter there. And I will try to increase the brightness in post-production. But yeah, definitely it is getting super dark. We'll switch to amber to get this guy. Oh yeah. There we go. Take that. Oh yeah. Made it look easy. And so a big question a lot of you guys have asked, Frankie Tech, is the Poco X3 Pro now the best budget gaming device that you can get? And I would say probably yes. I mean, this is a gaming phone, and despite the high CPU temps, this phone is actually more comfortable to hold because of the plastic edge and plastic back than maybe other devices which would have an aluminum edge. Let's find some more bad guys here. Here we go. Oh yeah, take that. Booyah. Take that. A little bit of a stutter there. Let's clear out this cam, shall we? And like I mentioned, guys, very early on in this game, here with this save data, a few stutters here and there, but nothing too extreme. Take that. Oh yeah, there we go. And back again on the Poco F3. And guys, I'm stunned. I've never seen a display get so dim, and it seems to be getting more and more dim the further we get. And now, guys, we've been playing for around 20 minutes on these devices, and I'm going to measure the ambient temps of these phones. Let's see how they're doing. 45.6 degrees. Unbelievable. And the Poco F3 is at 44.1. So you could call this aggressive gaming, of course, but I did not expect the Poco F3 to dim its display to this level. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually reduce the settings of the game, and let's see if that makes any difference. And let's just go to the medium default settings here, playing at 30 FPS on these devices. And let's see if that allows the Poco F3 to cool down a bit and then get its display back to a normal, reasonable level of brightness. And you can immediately tell the difference, guys. It is a much smoother gameplay here at 30 FPS. And let's face it, guys, if you want to play at the highest settings at 60 FPS, you're not going to be getting a phone like this. You're going to need to step it up to like a gaming device, an ROG 5, or a Black Shark, or a device that has like legit cooling or a fan accessory like the ROG 5 that would be able to play this game at 60 FPS and do it without melting as well. And meanwhile on the Poco F3, but now at medium settings, the phone has cooled down a lot, guys. I'm telling you, a lot. And there's a much more comfortable level to play this game at. And then you can see the display slowly getting a bit brighter. And I think in no time we will be back at max brightness on this display. And so now just a couple of minutes later, let's measure the ambient temps of these phones. And there we see the results, 45 degrees, 56 degrees on the Poco X3 Pro. So the Poco X3 Pro has definitely gotten warmer than the Poco F3. But guys, the Poco F3 has suffered some serious dimming. And so despite having maybe the better CPU on board, and despite delivering smooth 60 FPS gameplay, kind of shocking to say this, guys, but I'm going to give the win here in Genshin Impact to the Poco X3 Pro. Believe it or not, despite the high temperatures, it was actually still comfortable to play with this phone, and unlike the Poco F3, the X3 Pro managed to keep its display at full brightness the entire time. But all in all, the Poco X3 Pro handled Genshin Impact gameplay better than the Poco F3 in my testing. And there you see the Poco F3 with a still slightly dim display, and maybe this is something that with a software update can be improved, but for now the Poco F3 is suffering from major screen dimming after just 10 minutes of gameplay on Genshin Impact. One last fight for the road. Take that. Oh yeah. Booyah. There we go. But hit me up in the comments. Are you surprised that the Poco X3 Pro played Genshin Impact with less issues than the Poco F3? And is this dim display issue on the Poco F3 something that you're concerned about? Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. And I will be continuing to monitor this situation on the Poco F3 and see if it does continue happening when I'm playing Genshin Impact on this phone. Stay tuned. So that's it. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Have a good one. You get hot, Poco X3 Pro, but at least you stay bright.